Elmer, take it away.
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Elmer.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone on the call today. Thank you guys for joining me for this session. Hopefully, we'll get something out of it that you didn't already know. I want to talk to you today about some new technology that's being deployed and used by auditing professionals around the world today. This is called cognitive technology. And it really is very exciting to be a part of this and to see this technology used in a variety of different industries. The auditing profession is one place that it is being used very heavily to help people make better decisions. So what I'll do is I'll give you a brief overview of exactly what cognitive technology is. We'll talk a little bit about how that technology is being used today in a variety of different industries. And then I'll narrow it down to more specifically about how artificial intelligence and cognitive systems are being used to impact the way that auditors are making decisions and driving value for their companies today. Okay, next slide, please.
Elmer, in my haste to begin our presentation, I neglected to introduce you properly. My apologies. My apologies. Let me introduce folks to you because you really do have an impressive background and they need to know who you are. Elmer Corbin is chair of ASQ's Board of Directors for 2018, and he currently serves as Global Delivery Excellence Executive for the IBM Watson Health Business Unit. In this role, he is the executive responsible for collaborating globally across IBM and with industry partners to ensure high-quality, on-time delivery of breakthrough innovation in cloud and Watson cognitive services to help create strategic advantage for IBM's clients and accelerate successful achievement of their mission and goals. Throughout his 30-year career at IBM, he has served in a wide variety of major technical, business, and executive leadership roles, including leading a business unit of over 700 employees responsible for the development of the IBM Blue Gene L supercomputer and the core processor technology that helped all three of IBM's leading video game console clients revolutionize the home entertainment market. So, Elmer, now you may take it away.
Yeah, no problem, Scott, and thank you very much for that kind introduction. As you can see, just from my introduction there, my bio, that I'm working in the Watson Health division of IBM today. And part of our responsibility in that particular division is to help healthcare professionals as well as healthcare institutions around the world to do a much better job of helping patients, in their healthcare needs. I'll talk a little bit more, just briefly, a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. Next slide, please, Scott. All right, so most of you are probably working in industries today where you're starting to experience what we call the digital era. A lot of the companies are starting to really re-instrument their entire infrastructure and their entire enterprise so that they're more geared to be a digital company, meaning that most of their records and most of the information that they share amongst their suppliers and clients are all in digital form. And so their businesses are also run using digital information as well from a variety of different data sources. As you can see, we are starting to basically see data coming from just about everything that we interact with on a daily basis. You can think about it, you have data coming from any device that's connected to the internet. And that could be your cell phone, it could be your automobile, it could be anything that drives your business, if your business runs on a cloud or if you have your distributed computing, all of these devices that are connected to the internet are generating data. And even if you go to the grocery store nowadays, you have RF devices that are informing the grocer that there's more inventory that's required when the shelves start to get low. So data is coming from everywhere, and it's really starting to become a challenge for our companies and for individuals to manage that data and to make any use out of that data. It's one thing to have a lot of data. It's quite another thing to actually be able to use that data for some very useful purpose for your company. Next slide, please. So as more and more data is made available to us, this is really becoming a challenge for us as individuals and for the companies that we work for. And I've put 4 examples here of industries that are really starting to see this challenge in a great way. One is the healthcare industry. As you can see, healthcare, insurance, utilities, across the board, just about every industry is seeing almost a doubling of the amount of data that they're being experiencing every day from a variety of different sources. The challenge that they're having, though, is that vast majority of that data is unstructured data, meaning that it doesn't come to them in nice, clean spreadsheets that they can do analysis and calculations on. It may be a tweet, something very obscure, or it may be, some data that comes from another source, like a pacemaker or something like that. So it's not very structured. And so over 80% of the data that companies and individuals receive on a daily basis is what we consider dark data. In other words, that means that the computing systems that we use today really can't make any useful purpose from that data. And so that's a huge challenge. You've got all of this very valuable data, but the computing systems that are used traditionally haven't been able to really decipher and to rationalize what that data really means. Next slide. And so these companies have all of this very valuable data sitting around, in hard drives and that they're able to get in real time from whatever devices they have connected, instrumented in their company. And there have been some technologies made available that allow you to analyze that data, to detect trends, and to look at patterns within the data. That's really been able to give those companies some information, some level of information from that data. But what we're finding is that we really have needed to develop a technology that can reason on that data, just like a human being reasons. And that's what's called cognitive computing. So something that will go through the same type of cognitive thought process that a human being would think about data or any situation that they might be presented with, to come up with a reasonable answer or the best possible scenario in order to address whatever the situation is at hand. And so that's the way that we've really constructed these new cognitive systems that are now able to not only analyze the data and to give some level of information from that data, but now it's able to actually reason and to really think deeper about what does this data actually mean and how can we draw connections that's going to give us some knowledge about the value of this data or how it can be used to really drive value for the particular company that you might be working for. Next slide. So these cognitive systems, as they're called, are really creating this new partnership between humans and machines. There are a set of things that a human really does well. And when partnered with those things that a cognitive system does extremely well, it really creates a very powerful partnership that allows those humans that are interacting with these systems to enhance their capabilities and to enhance their expertise, to really scale the level of their expertise, to be able to analyze data and to have access to data that they have never had access to before. And it also allows human beings to really accelerate the pace of discovery and decision-making within their companies as well. So just the combination of what humans do well and what these machines are capable of doing well really gives us that capability to augment our own human expertise. And it's really driving the next level of discovery and growth for these companies as well. So our cognitive systems, the thing that distinguishes those systems from your traditional computing systems is the fact that it not only understands the data that's presented to it, but it also reasons on that data just as a human would do, and it understands human natural language. And the third thing that it does is it really continuously learns using machine learning capabilities. These machines never stop learning from the data that's being presented to it. So they're in continuous 24-hour-by-7 learning mode, which is something that also allows humans to really expertise the pace of discovery. Next slide. So the proof of concept for this new technology for IBM was the Watson system. So we created this cognitive system called Watson that was used to compete on Jeopardy back in 2011. So I don't know if any of you actually saw that competition, but this was really just a proof of concept to ensure that these new cognitive systems could understand human language or natural language as it's presented. And I don't know if any of you watch Jeopardy or not, but if you can understand the questions that are presented on Jeopardy, I think you can pretty much understand just about anything that humans might communicate, because the questions are pretty obscure and they're not straightforward. They're certainly not structured questions. They're very unstructured in some cases, and you have to answer the question in the form of a question. So Watson was able to actually compete against the two best Jeopardy players of all time, and the computer system actually won the match. So the proof of concept was successful. And the next thing to do then, after proving that we could have a system that could understand natural human language, was to then take that system and start to put it to work in some useful way in a variety of different industries. So next slide, please. So we started with healthcare, and that's Watson system is being used very heavily today in a variety of hospitals and medical institutions around the world to help doctors and medical practitioners to accelerate the pace of discovery on new drugs and matching of clinical trials, as well as to help them diagnose their patients better, quicker, and more accurately. But it's also very useful in the education field. there's a partnership with Sesame Street. Sesame Street has a humongous database of very useful information about the way that children learn and how they go about the learning process. And what has been discovered is that, you know, just about every child has their own individual way of learning. And so these cognitive systems and artificial intelligence is being partnered with that humongous database of information about childhood learning to really help educators, teachers around the world to create personalized learning programs for children. So it's, you know, it's another way of using this technology to really help bring the level of cognition up for an entire population of our human race, and that's our children. But it's been used in a variety of different ways, even, you know, from banking to video games, you know, to even the field of law. You as auditors probably know that it takes a lot of research and a lot of data to really come up with a good plan of action when it comes to the field of law and how you plan to defend your client or to prosecute, you know, an individual. That research is now being augmented using artificial intelligence to analyze previous cases and precedents, legal precedents, to really come up with potential approaches for lawyers and attorneys to use in the prosecution of their cases. So this technology is very useful in that field. So we're, as you can see, it's being used in a variety. This is just a few of the different industries where this technology is being used to really help human beings accelerate the pace of discovery and to help them with the decision-making process. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the reason that you guys are here is the auditing profession and how this technology is being used to really help in that field. So just like these other professions, you know, that we just talked about, the auditing profession is continuing to see unprecedented change as well. These advancing technologies like artificial intelligence and other cognitive platforms, advanced analytics, robotic process automation, and other emerging innovations really are playing a key role in, you know, this unprecedented change that we're seeing in the field. But these new technologies really, you know, they can only be useful if companies have the right people and skills to effectively leverage the technology and these tool advancements. Recognizing these new capabilities, your clients are also increasingly expecting the auditors in the companies to provide more forward-looking views into their business and also provide them with deeper insights that can add value to their business as well. Next slide, please. So, you know, the business process and auditing in general, let's think about some of the objectives that we have in the profession. You know, one is risk control and risk management as well. Another is just ensuring that the processes that we have, the business processes that we have in our company, align very neatly with our strategy in the company. We're there to provide guidance on opportunities for continuous improvement, to help increase productivity, provide knowledge and insight for better decision making for our company, to enable the right training programs to be put in place for our company, to make sure that we have the adequate resources, for whatever the task might be in our company. And that includes human resources as well as infrastructure. And also, auditors, we're there to provide greater transparency across the company as a whole. So these cognitive technologies are helping to really enable our auditors to accomplish those objectives. And you think about it, what just happened? There we go. If you think about it, it's enabling us to put all of these forms of data that's being collected through various instruments or through various means, put all of that data to work, not just the structured data, but even unstructured data to work to accomplish those objectives. It's helping to facilitate more deeper evidence-based decision-making. Also, it's helping us to really go a level deeper and analyze the data for specific patterns, whether that's real-time data that we're collecting or if it's data that's been sitting around for a while, to really help us discover things that have been undiscoverable up to this point. Sorry for a second there, I got pinged. It's also allowing us to really learn and to, just like the machine learning that our machines are working 24/7, it's enabling us to learn from the data that's being processed by those machines. And so it's giving us the ability to stay not only current, but to stay ahead of whatever trends might be going on in the marketplace that might impact our business as well. And, it's given us the ability to navigate this whole human language barrier. So you can actually speak to these machines in your own natural language now, and these machines can learn from, the interaction that it has with its human counterpart, which is also a revolution in technology that's enabling us to, do things faster, quicker, and to get decisions made much faster. Next slide, please. What it's also, these advanced technologies are enabling us to do as auditors is to create new ways, by using the data that's the knowledge that's being presented by these systems to create new ways to interact with our customers, giving recommendations on how to reveal more powerful insights through the actions that we have or interactions that we have with those machines. And it's even enabling us to come up with new business models that we're able to deploy very quickly, which is something that gives companies a competitive advantage today. Next slide. All right, so let's think about three things. We think about the cycle that we go through as an auditor on a regular basis is, identifying where there might be areas, making an assessment on areas for improvement, mitigating those actions where there might be gaps or there might be problems, keeping a constant vigil and monitoring, and then, reporting and making sure that everybody is on the same page when it comes to where there might be areas for improvement. So these cognitive systems are helping to analyze all of the data that's necessary in each of those phases of decision making as an auditor. Identifying where there might be opportunities, using data that we just haven't been able to have access to before. These systems are able to ingest vast amounts of data that no human could ever possibly ingest. Um, Also, it's enabling us to take a much wider look at things that we just haven't been capable of taking a look at before, and which is giving us a whole new set of tools and decision making as well. And as experts in the field of risk management, it's also given us greater value by not only being able to take a look at what has happened in the past, but what could potentially happen uh, as a result of some of the data that's being analyzed through this cognitive process. And all of that, is meant to help us, speed discovery, come up with more accurate answers to some of the questions that we haven't been able to answer before, and to really help to accelerate the pace of new opportunity discovery within our companies. Next slide. So I'll talk about each one of these things and just give you examples of some of the customers out there in the marketplace today that are already using this technology in their field, and how they're able to use their own internal auditing practice in order to put this technology to work to help them solve problems. Two examples here of how they're using it to really help identify risk within their company is this global company in the oil discovery field is using this to really help them to increase the potential outage event detection. And by utilizing this cognitive technology and helping them to take a look at all of the ways that they've potentially had outages on their rigs in the past, it's able to draw these trends and give them some predictive analysis on how they might prevent those types of outages from occurring in the future. In the taxation offices, we have people who are using it to really help them to save time in analyzing some of the tax returns, and helping them to also do a much better job of detecting fraud within those tax returns. Next slide. A couple examples of how it's able to help people analyze and make deeper decisions about where there might be potential areas for risk within their company. The Highway Patrol in Tennessee and the Tax and Customs Agency are also using this cognitive technology to help them to not only reduce the number of traffic injuries within their town, but also to do things like analyzing their own internal databases to try to reduce the amount of time that it takes to detect and to deliver the right decisions within their company. Next slide, please. And finally, in the area of how do we create better value for our company, this is an area where the role of an auditor is being expanded to really not only detect, but to recommend where the company might be going or should be going as a result of some of the information and the knowledge that's being gained through the auditing process. So auditors are expanding their role within the company, and they're becoming the go-to profession in order to give advice on where the company should be looking for opportunities and how the company should be positioning itself for growth, and finally where the company should be headed as the next iteration of their strategy. And all of these things are being enabled through the deeper insights that's being gained through the interaction with technologies like artificial intelligence. Finally, a couple of examples of how these companies are using this technology to help them gain greater value and move their companies in new direction is, the U.S. e-learning company is using this, to help them to reduce the amount of risk that they're seeing within their company. And this is mainly coming from the area of data breaches, and how do we prevent security risk from really impacting our company. And we've all seen examples of how that can have a significant impact on different companies through some of the stuff that's been in the news lately. These artificial intelligence systems are being used by some of the auditors across these industries to help detect fraud, or to detect those cases where there could be potential breaches within the infrastructure that lead to some security incident that could have a broad-reaching impact on the company. So this is another area where I think you'll start to see more and more companies utilize this type of technology to help them to prevent these occurrences from happening to their company. And major financial institutions. I don't know if there are people on the line here today that are working in a financial institution around the world, but this is a tremendous area where artificial intelligence and cognitive systems are being used today to help in the analysis and help them monitor how to advise their clients on various opportunities and investment opportunities that they might be interested in. I don't know if any of you saw the commercial that H&R Block put out, but H&R Block is using this technology today to help them give advice on how their clients might secure more deductions on their tax returns. So another area where the technology is being used to really help drive value for various industry clients. And I think the next page, maybe the next page. Yes. Okay. So what's the next steps? And what should you be thinking about as an individual who might be interested in using this type of technology to really drive value for your own company? So some of the things that you should be thinking about next is how do I embed this type of technology into my company, and how do we create a culture around the use of this technology? As I mentioned earlier, this is great technology, and it's very useful, but unless you have the skills and the buy-in from the people inside of your company, it's really not going to be that useful to you as an individual or to your company as a whole. You should be identifying areas where you can use this technology and where it can help your company to achieve some of the same milestones and goals that you've seen from some of the examples that I've used here in this presentation. You should also identify where the areas within your company where there might be risk that you can put this technology to work right away in helping in making decisions about how you mitigate that risk. You should be thinking about how do you develop that center of competence, that set of skills that you're going to need in order to make the most productive use of this technology across your company. And finally, how do you create some type of measurement system that gives you constant monitoring on how well the technology is producing some of the objectives that you originally set for it. And how do you make sure that you can keep a constant pulse on whether you're seeing a continuous improvement in the way that your business is run as a result of using technology such as this. So I think that's it in a nutshell. As you can see, the use of artificial intelligence across a variety of industries are really driving new value for those industries and for the companies that are represented within those industries. And I just really see a lot of potential for the use of this technology in the auditing profession to really drive growth and to help auditors to really drive a new set of value for their individual companies. So with that, I'll conclude and say thank you guys for listening today.
Thank you, Elmer, very much. We will have time for some questions and answers. If folks would like to ask questions, you can just type them into the chat function. You can address them to me, Scott Payton, and I will moderate those questions. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, just want to remind you that we will be sending out a link to all of you to the recording of the session so you can watch it again. Also, we will send you a link to that place on our site that lets you purchase a certificate of attendance that you can use for CPD, continuing professional development purposes. It's only $10. We keep the price really low. Mainly it's just to cover our administrative fees there. And I do have some questions that have come in already for you, Elmer. Can artificial intelligence evaluate human work processes along AI logic lines and still guarantee a reliable and fair result that is balanced to match social characteristics of the workplace?
So the way that these systems work is they're actually trained. And so the humans that are interacting with those machines are the ones that really set the policies and set the information that's included in the corpus for these machines. And the corpus is basically the database of information that's used by those machines to make decisions and to render recommendations to their human counterparts. So the answer to your question is it really will depend on the individuals that are training the machine and on the policies that the company has for how those decisions are going to be made using this type of technology. So, you know, if the individual, you know, understands the social responsibility that that company has, then that individual is going to make sure that, you know, the machine is making decisions based on that socially conscious decision-making process that the company has in place.
Another question here. Does this mean that we will see the trend of less human auditors in the long run?
That's actually a great question because I hear that question quite a bit. And let me just answer it like this. This is really technology that is meant to enhance the capabilities of human beings. It's not really meant to replace. That one slide that I had in the deck that talked about what humans do well and what these machines do well, it is a it is a machine or a tool that is being used by professionals in a variety of different fields. And auditing is one of them, where I don't know if it will necessarily be the case where this machine can do all of the things that an auditor is capable of doing today. There's a lot of decisions that are really require things like, morals to be applied, or it requires people to apply their human intuition in order to make the best decision for that company or for that client at the time. And these machines just don't have that type of capability. So I don't think it's, in the short term anyway, I don't see it as a replacement 100% for a human being. I see it as an augmentation of that human's capability to really make better decisions and to make deeper decisions that's going to really provide value to those clients or to the companies that they're representing.
Another question for you. Is there currently any technology or software platform out there for auditing, specifically for quality management systems, that's employing artificial intelligence?
We do use, within IBM, we have a quality advisor which uses Watson technology, which is, artificial intelligence, of course. But yes, we do use that product internally to IBM, and it's being used by our quality professionals as well as our supply chain professionals to help them make decisions and to mitigate risks that might exist within the supply chain. So yes, there are technologies now that are specifically being used within the quality field internally by IBM, and we also work outside of IBM with clients to deploy this same quality advisor within their infrastructure as well.
So is this something that's currently used to augment the auditor's skills and something that might eventually replace them, or do you see it as just always being something that's there to help them in their jobs?
I see it as something, well, it'll really depend on the companies themselves, in the future, whether this technology gets to the point where there's no need to have a human being to do certain things. But I just don't see that being anything in the short term, or within the next 10 years. I don't see this technology being capable of doing all of the things that an auditor does today. And again, I just want to mention that this type of technology is taking the auditor's role to a new level now. Well, the auditor is not just the person that does the identification of where there might be areas of risk and problems, but the auditor now, using this type of technology, is able to add a lot more value to that whole process by making recommendations now on where a company should be going strategically, where there might be opportunities for new partnerships or for new areas for the company to go in. And so there are new roles that are being played by the auditor as a result of using this type of technology.
So here's another interesting question. How do you anticipate the use of artificial intelligence in auditing affecting the culture of the organization? Are leaders going to be perceived as less accountable for monitoring or managing their processes in this new way of auditing? Are they going to be reliant on AI to do this part of their job, in other words?
No, I don't think they'll be completely reliant on it, but it's this kind of like the new technology that we have at our disposal today. If you think about, cell phones and other technology that are personal devices that we use to help us to do things that we used to do manually, or we used to do ourselves. it's the same thing with this type of technology. You'll be able to use this technology to help you accelerate the pace of decision making, but it won't be in other words, you won't be just talking to Watson or talking to some other artificial intelligence system to get the answers. The senior leaders will be coming to the auditor themselves, the human being, to say, what did you learn and what is the right recommendation based on the research that you've done along with this artificial intelligence. So, the machine won't be the one making the decision. The ultimate decision is made by the human that's using this tool to help them make better decisions.
Okay. We've got a lot of questions that have come in based upon your comment that IBM is currently using this technology. And I believe you said you were working with some of your clients for them to use it as well. So we're getting some questions like, when will something like this be available to the marketplace at large? What would the costs be? Is this a standalone product that can be basically bought off the shelf?
Yeah, so most of the cognitive solutions that are available now are through the cloud. So we have cloud offerings, and you can access the technology by using the IBM cloud. And of course, the cost it's not astronomical at this point. So I wouldn't be able to tell you right here on the line how much it costs, but certainly could talk to whoever the individuals might be and just give them some ranges about what type of setup they're looking for and how this how it might be priced according to what they're looking for.
Okay, and is this technology scalable? Could an organization start small on a pilot basis and then grow the technology as it builds out this type of program?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how most of our clients start out. They have some small use case that they want to apply this type of technology to in the beginning, and then it turns into an enterprise-wide initiative. And so, yes, the answer is we usually start small and then it spreads from there.
Okay. Another question that's come in here, the standards that most of our auditors are auditing against talk to the testing of the veracity of the software as to its correctness, quote unquote. How can knowledge be tested to be, quote, correct or, quote, mostly correct?
Yeah. So there are some standards that I'm sure you use to determine correctness and level of correctness today. Those standards would be taught to this artificial intelligence system. And then the system with its machine learning capabilities will continue to iterate on that teaching or that learning to continue to hone that standard and to give you feedback and give you recommendations. And if the human continues to say, well, yeah, this is not the right level, here's a better answer to the question that I'm posing, then the machine will eventually get to the point where the level of accuracy or the level of correctness will be exactly what you expect. So, in the beginning, it's probably not going to give you the right level of correctness that you expect. But, after continuous learning, then, it gets to the point where it hones the answer to the point where correctness is a known entity, and it will ensure that any new questions that are posed meet that standard or that bar for the level of correctness.
Okay, another question for you. Is IBM working with any of the standards organizations to facilitate the use of artificial intelligence in auditing as new standards are being developed?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Or?
I can't really talk about some of those relationships right now, but I can tell you that we're working with several of the agencies to basically, I won't say program, teach Watson those standards to ensure that the level of audits that are being done by the professionals using this technology meet those standards. And in some cases, the system will even give them some recommendations on how those standards can be improved in order to to provide the type of the type of industry in awareness that might be necessary in order for a company to operate better.
Okay, well, Elmer, I want to thank you for a very interesting session today. We had a lot of good questions. I think we've gotten through all of the questions that were submitted, which I think is great timing because we're right up on our hour-long block here. I want to thank everyone for their participation in the session today. And I just want to remind you all that we will be doing this series on the future of auditing every month for the next year. We encourage you to check back with the Exemplar Global website to see what other topics will be coming out. And of course, we'll be sending you emails to let you know what else we're doing. And also, I want to remind you about the International Auditor Symposium, which runs May 7th through the 18th. Again, that's a virtual online conference available 24/7, covering a whole wide variety of auditing topics. And you can find out more information on that at exemplarglobal.org. And Elmer, before I conclude today's session, was there anything else you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say thank you to all of the participants today and for the great questions that you had as well. Hopefully you got something out of this. The objective was to just give you some information about technologies that are impacting the auditing profession. Just wanted to reiterate again, this was a great session for you guys to kind of get that base understanding of the technology and to understand where a lot of companies are already using the technology today to really help them. And I hope that you got some ideas about how you could use this technology to really help you as an individual and to use it to help your companies to grow. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Elmer, very much. Great presentation. Thanks, everyone, for your participation today. This concludes today's webinar. Have a great day.